If you want to grow or scale your business, but you don't have rich parents or an extra 100K sitting around, this video is for you. Most people think they need investors, family money, or a huge amount saved up in order to grow and scale their business. The truth is, there are real ways to get $100,000 in capital without putting a single dollar down. My partners and I were able to do this with our physical therapy business here in New York City. We looked at over 40 different options for funding, and so I learned exactly which ones work and which ones to avoid. So in this video, I'm breaking down the most realistic ways you can get access to $100,000 in business capital, even if you're starting from zero. Let's get into it. If you want access to serious capital, you need to make sure that you look credible to the lenders. If you're watching this video, I'm assuming you have your business bank account already and you have your LLC formed, and so you're already on your way to making yourself more credible as a business. One thing that a lot of people forget though is applying for your DUNS number. So a DUNS number, spelled D-U-N-S, DUNS number, is like a credit score ID for your business. A DUNS number is issued by Dun & Bradstreet, and basically it allows banks and lenders to review your company's credit history separately from your personal credit history. A lot of people skip this step, which is a shame because it's really easy to get done, and you would hate for something as small as this to affect your ability to get a loan later. Once you have that set up, you can start building up your business credit by using vendor accounts. Companies like Uline and Granger report on-time payments to credit bureaus. Another thing that you can do to build up your business credit is to open up a secured business credit card. You can use it to pay for your expenses or just for small little things every single month. Just make sure that you're consistently paying it off in full. In around 6 to 9 months of doing this, you're really gonna build up a nice, strong foundation that'll make banks wanna lend to you. Now that you've spent some time building up the credit of your business, one of the easiest ways to access capital without any upfront costs is through a 0% APR Business Credit Card. APR stands for Annual Percentage Rate. APR is the total yearly cost of borrowing money. This includes interest and any fees. So when a credit card says 0 APR, that means you're not paying any fees, any interest during that promotional period. A lot of these cards allow you to borrow money interest-free for 12 to 18 months depending on the offer. You can use them to cover equipment, marketing, or any other startup costs really, without having to pay any interest during that window. So for example, if you get approved for a $20,000 credit line at 0% interest for 12 months, you could pay it back at roughly $1,600 a month without any additional costs. This is not my advice, but if you really wanted to, you can combine 2 to 3 of these cards to access $50,000, $75,000 in working capital immediately without any additional costs. Just make sure to pay them all off before the promotional period ends, because after that promotional period, the rate's gonna jump from 0% to something like 20%. Used responsibly, this is one of the smartest ways to buy your business some time so that it can start generating revenue from all the investments that you're making. Once your business starts to show consistent cash flow, you can qualify for a business line of credit. Think of this as like a flexible loan. You only pay interest on what you actually use. So for example, if you're approved for a $50,000 line of credit, but you only use $10,000 of that credit, you only pay interest on that $10,000. That's why it's one of the most useful tools for managing cash flow in a growing business. Depending on your business, you can also try a secured loan. A secured loan is backed by collateral, so the loan is backed by something of value that theoretically the lender could claim if you don't pay it back. That collateral could be equipment, inventory, or even future business revenue. So for example, if you have a business with $30,000 worth of equipment, you can actually use that equipment to secure yourself a loan. This allows you to borrow without putting any cash down because your business itself is the collateral. And if you're keeping track here, if you combine a credit line with one of those 0 APR credit cards that we talked about, you're probably already pretty close to that $100,000 goal, which is kind of crazy, honestly. Now let's talk about the SBA loan, which is sort of the gold standard for business lending. Small business loans are issued by banks, but they're partially guaranteed by the US Small Business Administration, which decreases the risk of the banks by a lot. That guarantee can cover up to 85% of the loan, and so that makes banks a lot more willing to lend to small businesses. These loans can vary in range, anywhere from $50,000 to $5 million. A lot of that has to do with how risky the bank perceives your business. And so going back to building up the business credit of your business, it's super important, and this is exactly where it comes into play. Small business loans also have way better terms. They have longer payback periods and lower interest rates. If you feel like you're not ready for a full business loan, you can apply for a SBA microloan, which goes up to $50,000. The SBA microloans are a lot easier to qualify for. SBA loans take a bit longer to process, but it's one of the best ways to access large amounts of capital with minimal risk. The last piece of the puzzle is thinking beyond traditional loans, credit lines, and credit cards. There are ways to access capital without having to borrow money at all. A great example of this are grants. Grants are free money provided by the government or private programs to help support small business owners. Grants are amazing because you don't have to pay them back at all. They're essentially free money given to help businesses grow and innovate. So for grants, you do need to meet certain eligibility requirements. Sometimes it's income, sometimes it's race, sometimes it's gender. There's all sorts of grants out there. If you're interested in grants, I suggest checking out grants.gov. They're always updating the site with different active opportunities that they have going on. And so as you can see, if you combine grants with credit cards, credit lines, and loans, you can easily reach that $100,000 goal of yours without putting in any money up front. Now that you understand different ways to raise capital without any money up front, your next step might be transitioning from an LLC to an S Corp, which I talk a lot about in this video.